Welcome to another session of Relationship Revolution. We're going to talk about dialectical tensions. It's one of my favorite theories of communication and interpersonal communication. So the theory of dialectical tension explains why people's goals, their interest, what they want to get out of a disagreement or out of a conflict change. You think about what you want beforehand and you come into the discussion thinking that you know what you want, and sometimes during the discussion, you change your mind. You hear something or something all of a sudden occurs to you that you hadn't thought before, and you change your mind about your goals or your interest. And sometimes, frequently, after a group makes a decision, people in the group change their mind about what they really wanted after the decision has been made. And then you have the challenging discussion about, have we already made the decision and it's too late to make any changes? Or does this new input cause us to need to revisit this decision? And that in itself is a challenging dialogue, oftentimes. It's dialectical tensions that cause people to change their mind about interests and goals. Let me explain dialectical tensions this way. Is it hot or cold in the room you're sitting in right now? Well, hot is on one side of the spectrum of what we want for homeostasis, and cold is on the other side of the spectrum that we want for homeostasis. But it's not like we want to be hot or cold. Really what we want is to be nice and just comfortable right in the middle. If only that would happen and stay there. But it doesn't stay there. You wake up in the morning and you're nice and toasty. It may be a little too warm, so you throw back your covers and that feels good. But all of a sudden you start getting cold, so you run into the bathroom and jump into a hot shower. Oh, that feels much better. You get out of the shower and you hit the cold air. Ooh, that's chilly. So you towel off really quickly and you run in and you put on clothes so you get warmer. Do you see what you're doing? It's not like you're at this homeostasis in the day. You constantly make adjustments between cold and between hot. If it's a cold winter day, you put on a coat, you put on a hat. If you start exercising, you need to take off your hat, maybe take off the outer layer of the coat. If you get into the car, you turn on the heat or you turn on the air conditioner, and after that's been blowing for a while, you adjust it because it gets too hot or too cold, or you roll down a window, you roll up a window, right? You're constantly making adjustments. It's not like you have this goal of homeostasis and you just stay there. If you will, imagine that there's a string between hot and cold and you're just kind of constantly tugging on it in order to try to stay in that place in the middle. Well, that's not the only dialectical tension you have in your life. You have, am I talking too much? Ooh, I need to talk less or I need to talk more. There's a time for both. Do I slow down and smell the roses, or do I speed up because the early bird gets the worm? Both of those exist. So you have all of these strings that are kind of together in your being in an unseen level. And really, if you tug on one, it can affect the others, and they go out of adjustment. And so you have to adjust those and tug them. And in the book, what I write is it's almost like you're sitting in a lawn chair, and you're held up off the ground in this sphere of strings, and you're trying to maintain your balance. And if any of them get tugged in the wrong direction, you've instantly got to tug the other way and try to hold that precarious homeostasis in that hovering lawn chair in the middle of all these strings. Challenging. Well, now, if you will, conceptualize that you're in the room and somebody else walks into the room. Now that person has their own sphere of dialectical tensions with themselves, but the moment they come in and you're in the same room or sharing the same goal or sharing the same plan, whatever, any way that you are interacting together, all of a sudden you have common strings. Let's just talk about the hot and cold string. You're both in a room together. You both have a hot and cold string. However, now your hot and cold strings are attached to each other. The other person is cold-natured. You're warm-natured. There's a thermostat on the wall. The other person walks over, turns the thermostat up. A few minutes later, you notice, oh, it's hot in here. You walk over, turn the thermostat down. Have you ever been in an office or a church building or at home and watched the Thermostat Tango, where people come by and some people are turning it up, some people are turning it down? That's because they're making adjustments to that hot and cold tension in their life. Well, how many other strings do I share with another person who's in the group? I share many strings with them. And any adjustments that I do in my life cause ripple effects of adjustments in the people around me. That's why group dynamics can become very challenging. It's not just that I'm a sphere in a room by myself. It's that other person's in the room causing a sphere. And if you will, once that person walks in, now there's a third sphere. And that third sphere is formed by the shared strings that we have. And now we're getting to my definition of how many people, how many groups are in a group. So if there are 2 people in a room, how many groups are there? There's 3. My set of spheres, my sphere, your sphere, and our shared sphere. Now what if a third person walks into the room? How many groups are in the room? Can you do the math? It's factorial. So it's 3 times 2 plus 1. So there are 7 groups in the room. I'm a group. Every sphere is a group. So I'm a group, you're a group, the other person is a group. Each dyad forms a group, and all 3 of us together form a group. Oh, it gets so complicated. Can you even do the math for how many groups are there when there are 10 people in the room? 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 plus 1. The only thing I've found that kind of pictures this is string theory. You'll see that you start off with one sphere, but then really you've got all these spheres that are interconnected, and then really it's a 3-dimensional, multifaceted sphere, but really it's not quite as defined as a sphere. Really, it's more like this nebulous strings going everywhere, and some people are outliers, and some of my emotions are all over the place, and people are constantly changing, so groups are constantly changing. Talk about challenging group dynamics. You can find these principles and more in my book, Muddling Along or Unity, Confessions of a Recovering Jerk. It's available at Amazon.com in print, Kindle, and audio. To learn how to practice these principles with me, go to dialoguedojo.com.